What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Hombres on the YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, 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 hello. Yes, for those who can't see, I'll actually stand up so that everyone can see my glorious Happy Birthday Jesus with Santa and Jesus sweater. My mom decided this year that it would be a good idea to give everybody funny Christmas sweaters. So I approve of it. I love Christmas. So yeah, I'm wearing and repping my Christmas sweater. You'll probably see this sweater a lot in some of my upcoming videos because it's Christmas time and I got to bring the spirit. I ain't no Grinch. All right. Welcome to everybody joining in live from YouTube and Twitter. Welcome all the homies on Instagram. It's going to be a good one. Let me know where everyone's tuning in from. Where are you guys from? And what's your sun, moon, rising? Always like to know that. And then we'll get right into the nitty gritty details of Saturn in Aquarius. And the best part is, in about 30 seconds, Saturn is going to enter into Aquarius. I'm going to actually pull up the clock. Oh, let's go now. Oh, Saturn is now officially in Aquarius, and we're all hanging out here. So what a better time to talk about Saturn in Aquarius than when Saturn enters Aquarius. Hey, we got going in from the Midwest, Brampton, Cancer Sun, Sag Moon, Virgo Rising, Scorpio Sun, Aquarius Moon, Leo Rising. Hey, Christian, what's up, brother? By the way, bro, if you want to join me on the main stream on YouTube, I sent the link in our group chat. So go and do that if you're feeling called to. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out regardless. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We're getting set up here. Just waiting for a few more people to join, then we'll get into the nitty gritty. It's a good time. Saturn just moved into Aquarius. And as I've been talking about for a while now, we're going to start to see some major changes happening. Okay, we're going to start to see some major changes happening. I mean, we're already seeing these changes take place within, the political realms, within these kind of social realms, within even the spiritual realms of where everything's kind of going right now. We're already seeing this change as we're finishing up with eclipse season. We're now launching our way into this conjunction on the solstice, which is super exciting, by the way. Super, super exciting, because the great conjunction happening on the solstice has never happened before. And I've gone back at least 4,000 years, and it's never happened before. The closest I found was December 22nd. I talk about it in my Saturn Jupiter conjunction video, which you can check out on YouTube. But the closest thing that happened was on December 22nd, 4,000 years ago. But the problem was December 22nd, 4,000 years ago was actually not a solstice due to the precession of the equinox. So it's never happened before. This is a crazy time, and I'm super excited to be able to share with you everything that's going on in this wild world right now in real time, which is like the coolest thing to be alive for, I have to say. So welcome to everybody tuning in live. Welcome to everybody watching the replay. And yeah. Welcome. Everyone loves a sweater. Represent. We're repping the Mindful Moment podcast mug. Make sure you go check out the podcast. Got a lot more episodes planned for 2021. Going to record quite a few by the end of the year, and then we're going to get into the good stuff. By the way, if you want to look at the charts that I'm going to be pulling up for this, make sure you go check out the YouTube. So you can go to my YouTube channel. There's a link in my bio if you're on Instagram to watch the full stream. I'm going to be pulling up the chart for Saturn entering into Aquarius. And then if you're on Periscope or YouTube, you'll be able to see it, no problem. But just for those who are there. All right. This is a podcast mug, a mindful moment podcast. Make sure you go check that out. The sound is my computer. So if that's too much, well, go over to the YouTube link. My friend. Oh, and we're going to bring Christian in here. Yeah, buddy. All right. This is dope. What's up, bro? Welcome. Pleasure to have you here. Make sure everyone's tuning in on YouTube to get the full video. All right. Yeah, it sounds way better on YouTube. Everyone's saying it sounds better on YouTube. So come click the YouTube link. Yeah, make sure you go check that out. All right. I'm actually going to end the Instagram stream and we're just going to go right to YouTube. So join us on YouTube. If you don't follow me on YouTube, click the link in my bio to go check that out. All right. What's up, brother?
What's up, brother? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're sounding great.
Awesome.
Yeah, dude, I'm super excited to have you join us.
Streamlabs sent group, and
yeah, you're in.
Here we are. Saturn in Aquarius.
Bro. Real time.
We made it.
We made it, and we get that. Like that's what I was just saying before. It's thanks, man. Yeah, this is the OG stream. So, yeah, I mean, I was just saying before, it's really cool that we get to experience this in real time as astrologers and just as people that are kind of aware of everything that's going on. I think it's really cool that we get to, just witness it. And like as we're streaming right now, Saturn literally just moved into Aquarius. So I think that's dope. And yeah, I'm gonna pull up the chart too, so we'll be able to look at that in real time, and we could talk about kind of some of the themes. And I'm very curious to hear your perspective too on some of those themes. So, I mean, let's just talk about the kind of shift of Saturn moving from Capricorn to now Aquarius. Like Saturn rules both Capricorn and Aquarius. So we have the shift of earthy Saturn to now the shift of a fixed air, right? Cardinal Earth to a fixed air. That's a big shift. That's a big shift. And that's really kind of breaking us out of these old systems. I mean, you think about the last 3 years. I mean, the system has never broken down more within the last 3 to 4 years of this, reality that we're living in. Everything's been exposed. Everything's been, the system has been exposed. And this is a long time coming, of course, but we're really, really, really seeing it happen in real time. And, I think one of the biggest catalysts is obviously a Trump presidency. But that's just reflecting the astrology at the end of the day, which is, it's time for really a new world. And that's what we're bringing in with this Age of Aquarius stuff, right? So we're welcome from Colorado. What's up? Everyone's saying it sounds better on YouTube. Yeah, it does sound better on YouTube. Everything's better on YouTube. So yeah, I mean, we're shifting out of this kind of old structural mindset of the Saturn in Capricorn to now Saturn in Aquarius, where it's kind of more conscious innovation. It's not as much, it's not as much focus on the system. It's more focused on what can we build as opposed to what can we break down. Saturn in Capricorn is really about kind of the journey of breaking down in order to create something better. Whereas Saturn in Aquarius is just focusing all that energy on building. Do you have anything to add to that kind of shift, that transition out of Saturn in Capricorn to Saturn in Aquarius? Christian, by the way, is an astrologer as well. Leo sun and moon, or
that's right.
Yeah, sun and moon with Aquarius rising. Yeah, so I'm super excited to have you here, buddy. And yeah, I'd like to know your kind of your take on shifting us out of Saturn and Capricorn. We'll go back and forth, obviously, but yeah, I just want to hear kind of what's been coming up for you as you've been looking at the astrology of just themes and everything going on. Did we lose him? I think we lost Christian there. Are we back? Oh, okay. Anyways, I guess Christian's not going to talk about it yet. I'm sure he'll join back in a second. But, one of the biggest themes of... oh, there he is. Hey, brother. He's back.
Hey, brother. Sorry about that.
All good. All good.
I was just going to say...
I'll give you the mic.
All right. You're a genius for bringing up that aspect of Saturn, how in Capricorn it builds up, in Aquarius it builds down. That is spot on, dude. And that is, I think, a really hot topic to cover of how that's going to affect the next 3 years, because I was born with Saturn in Aquarius, conjunct my ascendant, which is Aquarius. And my whole life, I've had this perception of just everything that I see in the world, I want to just kind of destroy it. Like that part of me wants to just completely break it down, because I've come into the earth like an alien. I feel like an alien, and that's that Aquarius rising with Saturn conjunct my ascendant. It's like, what is going on here? What have you people done? And I just kind of want to destroy it all, like that rebel in me. And I think that is my Saturn in Aquarius.
For sure.
Because Saturn's a very constructive planet. It wants to create solidity. As you know, it rules the skin, it rules the bones. The skin being the limitation of the body and the bones being the structure. So it's very much a planet of limitation and structure. But in Aquarius, which is an air sign, it's very interesting that Saturn rules Aquarius. And I'd like to pick your brain on that. Why does Saturn rule an air sign? And what is that all about? And before I just let you get to that, I just want to say it's an amazing time to be in, because I do think we're going to see a lot that is upholding our reality just start crumbling down. And I think we're going to see Saturn in its element of air, where it's just going to rewrite the script, not only on the physical plane, but on the mental structures that uphold those physical plane structures. So what do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, Saturn ruling Aquarius, it just shows the power of the mind, and the importance of there's a level of conviction that is required for us to develop any sort of understanding on reality, and Saturn ultimately rules conviction and integrity, and being able to uphold that. And so Saturn ruling fixed air makes a lot of sense to me, because while the mind itself is very mutable, our understanding, and even though our understanding could be a little mutable on reality, we have, in a sense, a fixed understanding of how reality works. We have a fixed understanding, we have a fixed perception of, my body functions in this way, the world functions in this way, spirituality to me functions in this way. I know that all this stuff to be true because I've experienced it. Saturn rules experiential knowledge, so it's all about the knowledge and the wisdom that I accumulate and experience, because that's real knowledge. That's real wisdom. That's like, you don't know something until you've experienced it to be true. Right. And it's like, you can't experience something to be true and then suddenly change your perspective on it if there's no proof. And people who do that, they don't have, a strong set of integrity, because you're just wishy-washy and you're just very much influenced by the perspectives of other people. So when I see, an Aquarius, and Aquariuses are very strong-willed, sometimes to a fault, to the point where, ego gets in, and then we have this kind of battle. Aquarius is the final battle with ego. So Saturn ruling Aquarius makes a lot of sense to me, because it's, in order for us to have a strong outlook on ourselves and life, in order for us to have intelligence, really, like true intelligence, which to me is through experiential knowledge, we need to have a defined perspective of what life is. It can't just be all loosey-goosey. Now, does that mean that you're not open-minded? Hell no. It just means that you have a in a sense, a structure to what you believe. And people who don't have a structure to what they believe, then they don't really believe anything. And if you don't believe anything, then you're not well read, because you're very influential to the opinions and perspectives of other people, and that's not a good trait. So Saturn in Aquarius is really helping us to get a more defined outlook on life when it's put in in a natal chart, that native is generally tends to have very powerful fixed experiences that help to define and shape that individual's life, obviously dependent on where it is in the chart. But collectively, this is us really finding the truth. This is us finally being able to see the truth, especially with this Saturn Jupiter conjunction, this great conjunction, this trigon that's happening on the solstice. This is about breaking away from all the false narratives that we've been fed, that we don't really have any proof over besides the fact that we've just been told. And it's like, now we're really learning, what does it mean to know? What does it mean to really understand the truth? And we're going to have access to the truth like we've never had before. I mean, that's already begun. The age of information began in approximately 1980. We had the great conjunction of 1980, which is in Libra, which started the age of air. And that ultimately led us into, well, what's being anchored in with this great conjunction happening on the 21st. So think about, age of, in 1980, I talked about this a little bit in my video. 1980, that's first personal computer comes out, right? 1980. And that's when information you now have in your home, unlimited. You don't need to go to the library to get an encyclopedia. You don't need to go outside your house to get information. Now you have, in a sense, I mean, back then it wasn't as much information as we have now, but it was still a lot of information compared to what you would get. It's like you'd have to ask mom or dad and hope that they know the answer. Otherwise, you need to go to the library and find out for yourself. Now it's like, I got my little phone here and I do a quick Google search and it's all good to go, So that whole process, though, of us now getting into not only an air age, but also with Saturn coming into Aquarius and Jupiter as well this year, this is really helping us to see the truth, and it's breaking down the filters and the distortions that have been preventing us from seeing that truth. And I think Saturn's we're going to see a lot of more attempts at censorship, more than we've ever seen in our life before. We're already seeing it happen, like literally as like now today. Twitter is saying that they're censoring everything related to COVID vaccines and all that stuff. You're not allowed to talk about it. They're censoring, basically saying they're fact checking this post about Joe Biden's crime bill, saying, oh, he didn't incarcerate mass amounts of black people, even though he definitely did because of that crime bill. And so we're seeing lots of different, and these are just minute examples of what's going to be happening over the next 3 years and beyond, really the next 20 years with this great conjunction cycle, and which is actually the next 200 plus years, as we're anchoring in and settling into the age of Aquarius. So I really feel that this year is going to be, we're going to start to really notice the shift from giving all our power and attention to the authorities on the information, the authorities on the kind of what we've been fed, to now going and finding the truth for ourselves. And we're going to see that with more decentralization. We're going to see that with more information, like a lot of, free platforms. Like I just signed up for a BitChute account. I'm just going to start to post content there. Parler, all these decentralized platforms are coming out. 3Speak, Gab, Telegram, all these new platforms are coming up because the censorship, right? That's a big problem. Like the whole giving our power to whoever has the information. That's all that age of Pisces stuff. It's not like the priest who speaks with God. Like we're going right to the source. And that's really what the age of Aquarius is all about. That's what this great conjunction is all about, is just bringing us back to the source of the information, the source of the truth, which is experienced. It's not just, oh, well, this person told me that. That was like when we didn't have the internet. When we didn't have that, then it's like, well, my parents told me this when I was young, so I accepted it as truth, even though they weren't 100% sure, but they've been told that, right? And then we just kind of accumulate that. And that's still going on. But now even kids, like when their parents tell them something, they can fact check it right away. They can just Google it and find out, and if their parents are wrong, they'll be like, hey, you're wrong. You couldn't do that back in the day. You did that, you got slapped, because it's just disrespectful. But now the information's there. It's a very, very different world that we're living in and being a part of. And it's very interesting to see it all play out in that way.
Yep. Yeah. I think you're right. I think we're going to see the powers that be trying. I think they're going to try even harder with this transit. It's almost like they use the transits to their benefit.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
Caesar, he Yeah, Julius Caesar. He made
Yeah.
use of the Capricorn symbol quite a bit. He even had it on the coin that represented him or whatever. So
Hmm.
I think he used the Capricorn energy to seize control and seize power. And
And
I
they
think that's
actually
exactly
planned
what they
with
did with this whole pandemic.
yeah, totally. And the Romans, they actually made 20-year plans based off great conjunction cycles. So that's of no surprise to me that uh, that was happening. I didn't know that about the coin, but that's pretty cool. But I did know that they wouldn't do 5-year plans. They wouldn't do 10-year. They do 20-year plans based off of trigon cycles, which is pretty crazy. But like, if you're gonna build something big using the power of Saturn and Jupiter,
Wow.
which is civilization, structure, authority, wealth, economy, all that stuff, it's like you better use those cycles to your advantage, Otherwise, you're gonna get your ass bit, based off of going against something like that. And it's not about going with or going against the astrology. It's just about learning how to navigate the energy. I always just say the astrology is like a map. It's just like a light. It's like you can navigate the dark cave based on your little night vision or your tiny little lantern, or you can have a giant glowing light, which is the astrology, to show you kind of, hey, there's a turn up ahead. It's like you can go that way, but it's going to take you a lot longer, or you can go this way. So yeah, no, I'm super excited for this transit. I'm
Totally.
super excited to be living through all this. I'm happy to, I feel like there's going to be a hell of a lot more live streams and sharing online and all that stuff with all this too. As we see more people go online, as we see more people kind of tap into their truths and really begin to share their wisdom, for better or for worse. We'll find out.
Yeah. Will, do you think that it will get worse with those powers that be trying? Are they gonna lock down even harder, or do you think we're gonna see the disintegration of all those efforts to control humanity in a wrong way dissolve in these next 3 years? What do you see coming?
Short term, I think we're going to see restrictions like we've never seen before. But I also think that's what's going to be the catalyst to piss people off enough to make a difference and make a change and say, hey, we're not going to put up with this anymore. This is ridiculous. The people that I've been talking about, like myself, you, other leaders in the community, we've been saying this for years. This is a slippery slope. People have been continuing to give up inches and inches and feet and just kilometers of their power and their rights over time, and people have not been understanding the downfall of that. Give them an inch and they'll take a foot, right? It's like, and that's the truth, and we're seeing that now more than ever. And I think people are going to
That's
definitely
true.
face the repercussions of all this, going into letting ourselves go into this lockdown and letting ourselves do the masks and the vaccines. We're going to see the effects of that. But I also think ultimately within the next 3 years, we're going to see the complete restructuring of both governmental systems, church, the church and the state. People think the church and the state are separate now. It's like, no, they're not. They're the same. Vatican City is literally its own country. It's got its own minister of finance. It's got its own money. It's got its own wealth. It's got its own UN seat. It's got like we're still living in literally like Piscean times. So we're really stepping out of that, and that restructuring process really begins with this great conjunction. And so that's why it's such a big thing. Like, I don't believe people are saying solar flare and all this stuff. Maybe, I don't know what could happen right on the solstice. Who knows, right? But I don't necessarily believe that the craziness is going to happen right on the 21st. But I do believe that that's going to be the catalyst for all the next literally 20 plus years of complete restructuring of the world as we know it. I guarantee you, the world in 20 years is going to be very different than it's been in the last 100 to even 1,000 years.
No doubt. Where is your natal Saturn, my good sir?
Saturn, for me, is 11 degrees Aries in the second house. Yep.
In the second house?
Second house. Yep.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
definitely learn. I also
how
have a
I've
Sun
always felt
Venus
my
conjunction in the second house as well in Aries, so it's kind of like a push and pull when it comes to
wow.
those lessons there.
Yep. Yeah, with Saturn in my first house, it's always been a very embodied thing, and I've always interpreted Saturn as my inner critical voice.
Mm,
Um, and even though it's always been my inner critic, I've always felt as though it's a source of stability because I'm going to criticize myself harder than you are, and that's almost like a guarantee. And sort of there's a sort of confidence, I guess, that comes out of that, especially if you can use that voice to improve upon yourself. And I hope
hmm
my connection's okay. You're a little choppy in my ears, but I hope that I'm coming across okay in a good connection here.
Yeah, no, I can hear you
But
fine. So.
um okay, cool. So there's a certain stability in knowing that you are going to be harder on yourself than anybody else. And if you can apply that to the mental realms, which I think may be the lesson in these next 3 years, you know, if
Hmm.
you can be harder on yourself than anybody in knowing that you believe what you believe because you know that you know that you know. I mean, that's always been the thing for me growing up. And I always try to understand the planets based on my placements because I feel like I'll be able to you know, understand the planets in that way the best. It's always felt like I'm not going to believe anything anybody says simply because they said it. I'm going
Hmm.
to know what I know because I know that I know, whether because I've done the research or I've had the inner confirmation or whatever it is. Um, and that's been my Saturn. And I think that might be the solution for a lot of people who struggle in this time. Um, but, you know, the issue is, of course, that the ego will fight to be wrong. It'll kill you so that it can remain right in its eyes, even though it's wrong. And
Yeah.
your ego will not allow you to get to the true information. So I think that could be a sort of cleansing process that we see happen here, where the people who will hold on to false, you know, information, even though the facts are screaming at them, that'll probably be where the scythe of the Grim Reaper of Saturn really comes down. But what's your advice for me and for everybody else who are going to experience these next 3 years? What's your advice for Saturn and Aquarius?
Saturn and Aquarius generation. I mean, it's really a time for you to honor your convictions. You know, I mean, you specifically having Saturn in the first house and having Saturn return in the first house. That's totally about the restructuring your sense of self and who you are and how you perceive yourself, and learning how to really just continue to tear down the walls of the ego and really build yourself in the highest capacity for service that you possibly can be, both to yourself and to others. But I think in general, that generation, Saturn and Aquarius, it's really learning how to uh, own your perspectives. You know, not being afraid to share. Saturn and Aquarius generation, I would say they're some of the people that are
Yep.
most afraid of sharing about everything that they're going through and what's happening in their lives. And there's a lot of, you know, because like online's a wild west. You know, you're gonna get criticized. You're gonna have things. You're gonna have people that are gonna say things or don't like the way that you talk about things, or don't resonate with what you're who you are and what you're saying, and that's okay. You know, that's okay. And it's about learning how to just own your truth, really, because the world needs that. The world needs you to own your truth so that you can inspire others to own their truth. And that's really, you know, I truly believe that the Saturn generations really have different gifts that they're here to give us through their own personal journeys and struggles and processes. And with Saturn and Aquarius, I really believe that is has everything to do with the truth and your truth and finding that and getting anchored in that. And the only way you can find that is by seeking that, you know, in the first place. Not just like you were saying, not just accepting whatever is given to you, but you know, discerning that kind of, you know, we were talking about that too in the group chat there earlier, of just, you know, like if something goes against what you currently believe, goes against what you know to be true, explore it, you know, go into it, dive into it, experience it. And I think especially you with Saturn in the first house, that's probably a forte of yours, as you were describing earlier. But I think, regardless of where Saturn is, if you have Saturn in Aquarius, it all comes back down to the truth. It all comes back down to the experiential truth and what you know to be truth based off of the facts, not based off of the opinions of others, not based off of the feelings, just based off of the facts, the data. And that's where we're coming into where, and I think collectively we see this beautiful generation that's coming up right now. And a lot of it is younger generation. We got some older people that are wielding the torch too to kind of pave the way for us. But a lot of the younger generations and the Saturn and Aquarius generation and Saturn and Capricorn generation, they're really helping to pave the way for us to really know, like, the independent news sources that are coming up, people that are really, really sharing truth despite censorship, despite, being silenced and attempted to shut up about the truth. So I think, we're going to see a lot more of that over the next 3 years. And we already are, it's already happening. So, and I notice this a lot in astrology. When I'm saying we're going to see this, it's already begun, we're going to see probably more of this. It's already beginning. That's why I can say that we're going to see more of it, because I can witness the momentum in real time. And I think that's part of the beauty of mundane astrology and being able to witness the kind of how astrology is translated on the collective events and everything that's going on too. I think there's a beauty in that. And everyone going through your Saturn return now, like, holy, what an incredible joy it is to be going through your Saturn return as we're going through a great conjunction. Like this is where I would say this Saturn generation is probably one of the most important in regards to fighting the fight, because I feel like this generation is also very divided in in their truths right now. And I think the reason that it's divided is because, half of the people, or maybe less than half of the people, have experienced the truth for themselves, and they know it and they stand firm in it. But with a lot of resistance from the other, group of people, which appears to be the majority. But I truly believe the silent majority is the real majority, and that it is not the majority. It just appears to be the majority of people that are just vomiting the verbal diarrhea opinions of the mainstream media and what they've been fed and what they've been taught. Millennials have been fucked up, I would say, the most out of all generations, because of how much programming their parents had. Like, their parents' generation had the most programming, like, ever. They were going hardcore. And now, I mean, it's just going overboard. But when you combine the programming that we have out there with the in the house programming that you get from your parents, because when you're a kid, your parents are gods. Your parents are, they're the highest authority to you, right? So everything they say, you accept as truth mostly. And or you go in the complete opposite direction, depending on what it is. But
Eventually.
yeah, eventually. Some earlier than others, some later than others. But I think that recovering from that only comes through when you can really find the truth out for yourself, and you can experience the truth for yourself. And that's really what I would say the Saturn return theme for everybody is. Obviously, in what area you're going to discover that truth and experience that truth, and what those experiences are going to look like, it's going to very much depend on your ascendant and where Saturn is natally in your chart and where it's returning to. And also, you take a look at your solar return too, or get an astrologer to look at for you, because that'll tell you a lot too about that going on. But yeah, I mean, like, what have you been kind of feeling? Because to me, Saturn returns. Do you have what's your degree of your ascendant? You said it's conjunct Saturn, and is conjunct your ascendant.
It is. It's conjunct my ascendant at the let's see what degree. The 20. My ascendant is 23 degrees, but my Saturn is 27 degrees, so it's close.
Okay, so late degree. So you'll have your Saturn return in 2023. So you're right towards the end of that. Yep. So yeah, that's cool though, and I think
right around there.
I think when people are getting hit on the earlier end, like if you're ascending like 0 to 10 degrees Aquarius, or your Saturn 0 to 10 degrees Aquarius, pay attention now, because I really believe that those people are being activated first, and then we're going to see kind of the domino effect of, you're going to be in the later degrees of that. But you feel the Saturn return even before Saturn enters your sign. The moment that Saturn enters the sign of your natal Saturn, you're going to feel the pressure of that instantly, instantly. So pay attention to those themes, because Saturn's a slow moving planet. Saturn, takes a long time to build, and thus the transits are they build that momentum too. And the lessons that get built up, it's not a like lightning kind of boom, lesson. It's a slow build up towards those lessons,
Right. And man, I think we are on to something, because the North Node has been in Gemini, right? Showing that the lesson has already been have the data, have the facts over your emotions about things. And we're going to see a trine between Saturn and this North Node in Gemini. That's going to hit around March of 2021. Saturn's going to be moving forward. He's going to come into the 10th degree, and then the North Node will come into the 13th degree. And as Saturn goes ahead into degree 11, 12, 13, the North Node is going to come into 13, 12, 11 in April of 2021. So this spring, we're going to see the node. Of course, it retrogrades through the zodiac while Saturn comes ahead. And we're going to have an amazing trine in air signs between the Saturn and this North Node. And then Saturn's going to go retrograde, and it's going to continue that trine into the early degrees, degree 8, and 7, 6 for Saturn and Aquarius. So I think Saturn is going to come in and say, hey, if you have not learned this North Node lesson yet, well, you're going to learn it now, buddy, because I'm going to take all your stuff away from you. I think that a lot of the issues have been people have not been telling the truth because they don't want to lose their stuff, especially in America. We have a lot of great stuff, and we're so weak, we don't lose that stuff. So we will cater to those who try to intimidate us. And that's the issue with not loving the truth more than anything else. Because if you love anything more than the truth, that stuff can be used against you. But the truth will always, always set you free. And then, of course, the North Node is going to exit Gemini and move into Taurus in January of 2022. Or maybe at the end of December 2021. And so this is going to be a final year of the North Node in Gemini. And then we're done with the North Node in Gemini. Then so we've got this last year to really uphold the truth above anything else in my mind. And I think Saturn is going to just lay the axe down on all those heads who have bowed down to anything, other than the truth. So, Aquarius, every sign, as you guys may know, has a key phrase. And the key phrase for Sagittarius is I see. And that happens after Scorpio, whose key phrase is I desire. So from our desire, we learn what that's about, and then we can see in Sagittarius. Then in Capricorn, Capricorn says I use. And then Aquarius says I know. And so you're really hitting it on the money with deepening ourselves in our convictions here, because Aquarius is about knowing, not thinking and not even perceiving, but knowing. And that comes through conviction. And I think that comes when the heart and the mind are married, because the mind has that interpretation, but the heart is the one that knows, because the mind thinks and the heart knows. And then lastly, of course, we have in Pisces, I perceive. And that's where it all comes together. And we reset back in Aries, which is I am. So this is that stage in humanity's journey, I think, with Saturn, where we've got to know that you know, not just because somebody told you. This is so the year coming up to ask yourself, how do I know? How do I know that what I know is true? Because in day-to-day life, we typically just don't get that deep. We just repeat what we've heard or what somebody has said. And this is such a moment in time to really find out how you know what you know. I mean, and that just takes some inquisitiveness, some curiosity. So what do you think about that? And then what are your thoughts on when the North Node comes into Taurus? Like, what do we have ahead?
I think it's interesting that you actually brought up that idea about losing the stuff, because in February 17th, we have the square of Saturn with the Uranus in Taurus. The moon is actually conjunct Uranus at exact moment. So we have Saturn squaring the moon and Uranus at the same time. And, moon in Taurus, very much about possessions and very much about, actually, I'm going to share the screen right now so I can add this there.
Nice.
So we can have it up there. Yeah, there we go.
Amazing.
So this is actually the date, the February 17th, 2021. And as you can see over here, we got a 7 degrees moon, Uranus, and oh, look at that, 7 degrees Saturn. So that's a gnarly square that's really gonna, I think, reflect exactly what you were talking about of that stuff of getting rid of the stuff that is no longer serving us. And I think when we see that kind of translated on a collective level, we're looking at, you know, the systems in place that are really, you know, like we got too much clutter. We have too many things that are not working for us in this world that we're just holding on to because of tradition. And I, you know, part
Yeah.
of Uranus and Taurus and the moon in Taurus, especially with that square to Saturn in Aquarius, it's like, how can we learn how to let that go? How can we learn how to kind of move out of those habitual, you know, possessiveness towards the things that we're wanting, as opposed to honoring, like, hey, certain systems work. This is where like radical progressiveness is not what it's all about. That's not what the future is. A lot of like the whole leftist kind of movement and everything like that, like just completely removing all our values and everything without actually determining the purpose of them is absurd. It's absurd, you know.
Absolutely.
But on the other hand, you know, and this is where, you know, I still identify as a true liberal at the end of the day, but I have a lot of very strong conservative values. And the reason I say I'm a true liberal is because if something new comes in, if new information comes in and it works better than the old way, I'm going to embrace it. You know, if a new system comes in, if a new platform comes in and everyone's on it and it's way better than Instagram, but it's like Instagram, I'm going to switch over to it, you know, because it works. If it's not as good, then I'm probably not going to. And that's the idea of, you can't, like the whole even left and right. It's like the, you know, the left wing and the right wing belong to the same bird, right? And we all have conservative parts of us, and we all have more progressive parts of us, and both of those things, and I think unifying those things, you know, it's important to have strong values. That's important. It's very, very important to have strong values, because if you don't have strong values, you don't know what you stand for, and you can't say I stand for everything, because that's a load of BS. You know, you have to stand for something. And we're seeing a lot of that actually right now. I don't stand for anything, you know. Actually, I can just go here. So
beautiful.
over here, let me just go a little circle here. Okay, these are being connected. Saturn, and then we have the Uranus. This is in February, by the way, so this is months away, and this is going to be after the Saturn Jupiter conjunction, and after quite a few crazy transits that are coming up. But all I will say is we're going to really be given an opportunity to question our values and question, you know, the systems that are in play that work versus the systems that don't work anymore. And we got to honor both of those things. Like, we can't be too conservative and say, well, I'm not going to change anything because, you know, this is the way that things have been and they work fine. It's like, well, if something better comes along and you're not open to that, now you're just being ignorant, you know?
Right.
On this, in the same regard, completely disowning all your values, completely rejecting any kind of thing that has worked in the past because I don't like it, is also absurd and ignorant. You know, it's like you have to respect your elders, but you also have to realize that, you know, your elders probably know a lot less than you do, you know, because we just have so much more information. Does that mean that information is all accurate and that's true wisdom? Hell no. You know, like your grandma probably has a hell of a lot more wisdom than you do just based off her life experience. And I think really those are like that Saturnian kind of theme that keeps coming up for us. And especially with Saturn and Aquarius now, it's like, holy, we got to be really conscious of the themes that are working, the new themes that are working, and also how can these themes be more inclusive to fit everybody, and not in a way that just completely pretends like there's no differences, because that's the ignorance of the left that we got to kind of walk away from, because we need to celebrate our differences and own them, and
Yes.
you know, like that's what true diversity is about. It's not just about having a shade of every color in the room just to make us feel good about ourselves. It's about truly understanding and cherishing our differences as men and women, as coming from my European background versus someone coming from an African background or an Asian background or a Caribbean background or a South American background. Like, all our cultures, all our our genders, like all these things, even our education, even our location, like all these things have so many amazing factors that create the uniqueness of us. And to just, not acknowledge that and to try and pretend like it doesn't exist is crazy, So I really do see this time as a time where we're just learning how to own the amazingness of our own uniqueness, because it is amazing. And our wisdom that we've experienced, that we have accumulated based off of our own experiences, it's totally valid and it's totally beautiful and it's totally unique. And not everyone's going to agree with it. And that's okay. And so I really think, one of the biggest shifts that we're going to see over the next 3 years is, and part of this is hoping that this is happening, but the other part is I really do believe that this is going to bring out more of that out of people, is to celebrate our differences, celebrate our uniqueness more than we have been. Because right now it's been so isolated, like you can't offend anybody, otherwise you're a bigot, everyone's tiptoeing on eggshells. It's like, no, that's not how it should be. It's like, why can't I say that I'm white? Why can't I say that? Why do I have to, when I introduce myself, why the hell do I have to tell you my sexual orientation? I think that's the dumbest thing on the planet Earth. Hi, I'm Will. I'm a straight white male. I always joke with my girlfriend, and I always joke to people about that, because it's like, who the hell cares? There's certain things that just do not matter, and then there's other things that it's just like, what am I just going to pretend that my black friend is not black? I'm just going to pretend that I'm not white. It's like, this is also stupid. I'm going to pretend that I'm not a man and I have a penis, and that's very different from someone with a vagina. Like, we have to celebrate our differences. We have to celebrate our uniqueness. We have to celebrate our strengths, right? And we have to be open to new information without blindly following it too. There's a fine line now, the whole inclusivity and all this stuff. It's created this movement that says we need to accept all the blind, information as truth because it's new and it's inclusive, and we need to use these words to, like, oh my gosh, no, we need to question everything, right? And we need to think critically about it, and based off of our own experiences thus far, utilize our own experiential wisdom to say, hey, does this make sense to me? Does this resonate with me? And is this new information, or is this old information repackaged, disguised as kind of new information that's not really new information? And thus that's where I think that fixed air can really come in. Now, I was talking to a friend about this the other day. We weren't even mentioning Saturn and Aquarius, but now that I think about it, it was just such a Saturn and Aquarius, and he's an Aquarius rising, such an Aquarian conversation where, we were talking about the importance of having an opinion, like the importance of that, like having an outlook on life. So many people just say, well, I'm just open to everything. It's like, oh yeah, no, you're not, because if I told you something that you didn't like, you would fight it. You wouldn't just be like, sure, what? Sure. If I said, what, we're changing the sexes now. All women are going to be called men and all men are going to be called women. A person like that would be like, what? That's crazy. But I'm like, hey, well, you said you're open to everything, right? So like, we have to have a fixed definition. We have to have a fixed outlook. And if you don't have that right now, or the thing is, we all have that right now. But if you're not aware that you have that right now, or you like to pretend that you don't have a fixed opinion on something because you like to be open, it's okay to be open-minded. It's, in fact, a sign of intelligence to be open-minded to new information. However, you need to be discerning with that. And Saturn and Aquarius, that's really what I think the next 3 years is. We're going to see a level of discernment that we've never seen before in our lives, which is a good thing for us because we need a hell of a lot more of that. We need a hell of a lot more discernment. That's for sure. Man, and we also have the beautiful moon, hey, bringing Saturn and Jupiter in together. Did you see that? I thought that was really, really cool that we have. I mean, moon in Capricorn is not a very strong placement, but it's nice that the moon is kind of bringing us, into this 0 degrees Aquarius transit, which I think is going to kind of help soften the any sort of negative effects that we're going to see from that. However, things are going to get crazy. Things are going to definitely get crazy. We still have a Mars Pluto conjunction before not a Mars Pluto square before we end the year too. So that's another big thing. I think that's happening on the 23rd. So there's still a lot of crazy events that are happening before the end of the year, and I think it's important to be aware of that, be conscious of that, and like I said, over the next 3 years, be really, really mindful of being able to discern information and seek out the truth. Seek out the authentic experiences that to be true, and not just blindly follow what you're being told by authority. We're throwing that out with the age of Aquarius. We really are. That the whole idea that our connection to God, our connection to science, our connection to the understandings and philosophies are based off of our teachers, or based off of the information that whoever holds the information holds the power. Like, that's all being disintegrated right now. I mean, that was disintegrated when the internet was invented, really. But we're going to see that come full throttle. Do you have anything to kind of add to kind of wrap this conversation up in regards to Saturn and Aquarius, or maybe some advice or your interpretations on what you would give for people, or maybe even what you're kind of picking up on seeing over the next couple of years with all this?
I would add to what you said. Seek the truth, absolutely, but also, you guys, prioritize the truth, because if you'll make it a priority, then it'll naturally come to you. You'll be seeking it without knowing you're even seeking it, as long as it's a priority, And I think that Saturn element is making it a priority, like getting down to business about finding out what the truth is. And also, with discernment and with knowing that also the other side to that is, it's okay to say you don't know, because that's a sign of intelligence. That's a sign of open-mindedness. If you don't know, just admit you don't know. Just say, hey, I don't know. Actually, I haven't looked into that. I don't have an argument for that. Yeah, but that's interesting.
That's a good theme to bring up, actually, because I think a lot of people just frankly are not qualified to argue about a lot of the things that they argue about. Like, I think this culture has made everyone feel more intelligent than they actually are.
Absolutely, because they're a parrot. They just repeat what they've heard somebody else say.
Exactly.
So it's not anything original. And Aquarius has to do with that originality, which is honed in on, which is kind of concentrated on and cultivated. The ability to think for yourself and to rely not even on your own understanding, but maybe on a higher understanding, And, when we look at the opposite sign, which is Leo, the opposite sign can tend to be repressed and then act as the looming shadow. And so that Leo is.
Oh, you got to unmute your mic there, bud.
Okay, I don't know why it muted me. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
That was weird. Now you're muted. I can't hear you. What the?
You can't hear me? How's that?
Oh, Lord, I can't hear you.
Oh, that's weird. Hold on. How's that?
Check 1, check 2.
Still can't hear me?
Well, if you can, maybe it's on my end. If you can hear me, I'll just finish this thought, and then I'll hop off. I'll say goodnight, and I'll let you wrap it up.
Sounds good.
The elitism of Leo, because Leo's the ruler. So when we're centered in Aquarius and we're repressing that fact that everybody's an individual and what makes them unique is their greatest gift, and also we're repressing the fact that equality doesn't actually exist anywhere in the universe. There's no such thing as equality. We should treat each other equal. That should be a virtue, but it doesn't actually exist. And I'm sure that would make a lot of people emotionally upset for me to say that, but I was born smaller than the other guys. I experienced inequality in my life. So, I just don't see in the universe where anything is equal. And I think that's what Aquarius represents. Even if you meditate on that symbol of Aquarius, it represents that even though we can move in sync, the two movers themselves are different. So in Aquarius, if we, the shadow of Leo can loom over that. And that's what we're seeing today, because Aquarius is kind of the liberal of the zodiac. It's the sign of the common man and woman. And when you think that you can speak for everybody else who's a commoner because you experience yourself as a commoner, and so you think all the other commoners think the same as you or whatever. That is the shadow of Leo. You're trying to, dictate what you can say and what you can't say, and you have forgotten that it's that spark of individuality within every man and woman that makes them what they are. That's the gift of who they are. We've just got to remember that as Saturn comes into this sign, remember the virtues of the opposite sign, which is that nobility of the heart, where you trust yourself in your difference and how you're different from others, but you also trust others to be different in how they are different, and you let them be that and not try to speak for them. So that's the integration. That's the balance of Leo and Aquarius, I think. How Leo can be such a crazy dictator, and and unless it's integrated with its opposite sign, which is the knowledge that we're all equal in that we're all unique. So I just pray we're going to have a good time. This has been the craziest astrology of my life. It's almost been too easy to say, like, oh, doom and gloom, like, oh, crazy stuff's happening, you got to worry. But I don't want anybody to worry. I want people to love the truth, because the truth will set them free, even though it's an intangible thing. I think that's what we have to tap into here with the tangible planet Saturn moving into this air sign. So I just wish everybody well, and I'm here to support everybody, every single person in this transition. If they need an astrologer, of course, Will is an amazing professional, and I'm here to support everybody as well. So don't hesitate to reach out to me or to Will. We're always here to support you guys in the growth of your consciousness, and I just love you. That's all I want to say as we sign out here. I love you, Will. I love everybody here watching, and much love, humanity.
Hey, thanks for joining us, brother. And I really appreciate you hanging out with us once again. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in for the live broadcast here. Always a pleasure. And I will just end by saying you guys are incredible. You're beautiful. And enjoy the upcoming transit. If you want to book a reading with myself, you can go to the link below here in the YouTube video. And if you want to work with Christian, make sure you follow him on Instagram. I will drop his Instagram below once I post the live stream video. All right. Talk soon.